Greetings, Internet! Authorities here, and this week we'll be talking about jobs on Nerd Rant. Nerdy rants from a nerdy guy. Let's get started. Directed by Joshua Michael Stern, and Ashton Kutcher played Jobs. It was really nicely done. I really liked it, and it showed Jobs in a light I'd never seen him in before. I mean, you always picture Jobs as, I am the founder of Apple, and I love everyone, and I'm going to give you free stuff. So here you go. But no, in this he's like, I'm going to kill you because you don't agree with me. It's completely ridiculous, and it's just showing him younger than, like, his younger years. The years we don't really think about as Apple users. I mean, this video is being filmed on an Apple. Not even going to get into my phone. Because Android, we're talking about Jobs, so let's not even get into Android right now. It was just really interesting to see Jobs kind of be struggling more with stuff that most people struggle with. Like, he may or may not have a kid. That's one of the things. You can check history, like internet, and do this and that. But it's weird because you don't think he would just drop kids and stuff. Like, he forces the girl he may or may not have a kid with out of the house. And you think it's ridiculous because he's getting mad. Because he went to India in the movie and in real life, and he comes back, and this girl's pregnant that he's been dating forever. And so you're just like, well, duh, you had to make a baby with her. He's like, no, I didn't. I'm going to throw you out of the house. You're ridiculous. I don't care if you're a founder of a great company. You're ridiculous for throwing a girl out. Mostly when she was actually somewhat attractive. That's my opinion there, but whatever. Let's go on. The rest of the actors in the movie were really good as well. I mean, they look a lot like the characters that the people they're actually playing. Like, at the end of the film, they showed pictures of, like, Ashton Kutcher with Steve and everyone else. And it was really, really spot on. Like, there were some differences, like, length of the beard or scrubbiness of the beard, whatever. Or, like with the two Wozniaks. One had, like, the real one has, like, and the other one doesn't. And the one movie didn't. So, I mean, it's not that bad. It's not that different. So, it's not that big of a deal if you don't, like, they're not spot on, they're not perfect, it doesn't happen, meh. Like, if you're not that, like, ridiculous about it, you're not gonna have a problem with them looking different. Some of the problems I did have, though, was that last I checked, Steve Jobs didn't invent video games. Like, he didn't invent I forget the game, but it was like Space Invaders or Block of some Atari game, and last I checked, he didn't invent that. He did work for Atari, though. But he didn't make that game. In the movie, he just kind of seemed a bit of a jerk, and I kind of would have liked to see the older him more, like his later years when he's dealing more with the cancer and stuff. Then more 2001, I'm introducing the Apple. That's the last we see of old Steve Jobs. We were mostly stuck with his younger self being the more jerk of, you don't agree with me, I'm throwing you out my company, meh! That sort of one where he's getting angry. One scene in the very beginning, he's working on I think the Macintosh or the Apple II, one of the two, and he's talking to the guys. He's like, okay, I click this button, and what happens? Well, you get a bar down, and you get your options. He's like, okay, how many fonts do I have? And the guy's like, we didn't see the importance of having more than one font. I mean, most computers only have one. And Jobs just blows up on him and throws the guy out because he didn't agree with him. Like, I mean, really, in the old computers, there wasn't much point in having multiple fonts. But I see now that it makes a lot more sense. But then it was hilarious because after he blows up, you see one of his friends. He's like, Steve, that was one of our best programmers. And Steve, just the most arrogant way possible, like, one of the best programmers that didn't care. And just kind of walks out on him. You're just like, dude, you're a jerk. But you come to see in the movie more why Steve became more the figurehead. Because in the beginning, it was Wozniak who was building the computers and putting it all together. It was Steve's way of being able to get people interested in it that made people like, oh, okay, I want to support him. Because he's a nerd. Like, he's not the cool, like, oh yeah, man, I'm a nerd, I play video games, man. Like, the weird, jokey nerd. Like, he's legit, oh, hi guys, how are you today, nerd? Like, he's the overly nerdy guy. Like, he has no social skills, really, or anything. You feel bad for him because, like, he tries to present his computer that this is his passion. This is what he has loved from birth, basically. And you see old guys acting like high schoolers. They're just dead to his idea, which is super cool if you really think about it from our perspective, being that we use computers every day. And he's just introducing the idea back in, I want to say, the 70s or 80s, that somewhere around there. And these guys are like, whatever, we don't have any purpose for it. And you think now, we use it for everything. Like, I use it to make videos, I use it for school, and I use it for, I mean, literally, my whole life is on a computer. Mostly an Apple computer, so I mean, gotta tell you that. But I like how it kind of shows Jobs in a light we don't see of him in the life that we knew him in. You don't see him as the job father, as people have called him, like he's like a god. We don't see him that way. We see him as Steve. We see him as a guy with problems that he struggles with, and how he has to overcome them in his life. Like, I mean, he got thrown out of Apple like twice in the movie because the board didn't like him, and you're just like, Steve, learn to calm down, and everything's not about you. Like, you get to the point where you're just like, dude, stop it! You are annoying! Just get along! Jeez! But he learns when he's, like, really old, and all of his friends are leaving him. Like, the saddest scene ever. And I'm fine spoiling this one, because you can do history and you can find this up too. Wozniak leaves Apple, and he already left. But he comes back to tell his best friend, Steve Jobs, that he's leaving. And Steve just doesn't understand. He's there working on, I think, the first Macintosh. And Woz is just like, Steve, I'm leaving. He's like, okay, yeah, you're leaving. Okay, bye, see you tomorrow. It's like, no, Steve. We've had fun, and I really enjoyed this, but I'm leaving. I'm not going to be here anymore. And it's the most heart-wrenching scene that I've seen in a nerdy documentary. It's a nerdy documentary, and I nearly cried. That tells you something. If a nerd's gonna cry for a documentary, that tells you that it's a good film. It is really spot on. It's really emotional, because you grow to love these characters. Like, they're your best friends. Mostly, if you're a nerdy guy like me, because I'd be like, oh yeah, oh yeah, he's my friend. Like this guy. Oh yeah, jerks. Like the jerk Steve. Oh yeah, I can picture him in a group. Oh yeah, I could pick out friends of mine that would fit in these categories of these characters in the film. It's a great film, and it's really done well. I honestly, my only negative is that I wish we could see more older Steve, because it was really nice. Towards the end, you got to see it, and it was really it's a really good film. It makes you feel good if you're not normal. If you're a nerd, it makes you feel really good about yourself. That you're different, and that if you're smart, you can change the world. That you're crazy enough that you're going to change it. Because that's a whole quote that they end the film on, and it's really nice way to end it. They don't get the negative that Steve dies of cancer, and I mean, honestly, here's an opinion from after Apple nowadays, after the film. Steve's what kept Apple alive. Really, if Steve never came back the first time, we'd all be using PCs. We wouldn't be using an Apple product. Because Steve was the idea person. He could see the future like people couldn't. Like, he would see internet computers, like there used to be huge terminals, are going to be in our pockets. They're going to be everywhere we go. They're just going to constantly be there. And he knew it. So he's like, we need to get this in the home, and we need people, everyday average Joes, to get involved with it. I wish you had seen the more nice Jobs, to be honest. Like, I like seeing the angry Jobs who's like, you don't understand me! You don't get it! I hate you! Ah! Like, I like that. It was a great way to make emotion for the film. But I also wish we would have been able to see that emotional side. Like, not where at the end where he's like, they're making the first, the Macintoshes where they were all colorful and everything, which were cool. Like, I just wish we could have seen more of that Steve, who was like, okay, so how do you do this? Okay, that's a cool idea. What do you think? What's your idea? Like, I like that Steve. That's a Steve we all, like, I mean, I was raised remembering. And I like that Steve. I also like older Steve, but I mean, it shows the struggles that the Jobs went through to become a true leader. And it's really cool to see. And I won't do a final thoughts because my final thoughts have been stretched out through this whole video. So, this is the end of Nerd Rant. Nerdy rants from a nerdy guy. I'll see you in a week. Not next week, but the week after. I'll do these every other week. See you in a week.